Hi there, good morning. Now, something happened yesterday, something bad. It disgusted me. I still shake my head in despair every time I remember it. It was about 6:30 in the morning. I was crossing the road from the Joy building to the TV building as I usually do. Now, there's a well-marked zebra crossing which bridges the road between the two buildings. I had made it halfway across the crossing when I noticed a car approaching from my right. It was still a good 80 meters away, but it showed no sign of slowing down, even though there were no other cars in the large empty space between us. Now, I kept walking, and the car kept coming. There was ample time for this car to slow down, and the driver had definitely seen me. But it just kept coming. Finally, less than 20 meters from the zebra crossing, the driver stomped on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt barely a meter from where I stood. Now, I noticed the driver making a gesture of agitation, so I pointed to the zebra crossing at my feet, just to illustrate that I had right of way. Then the driver opened a window and I saw it was a rather large woman. She shouted out at me, "You think this is some foreign country?" I couldn't believe my ears. I mean, not only did this woman clearly lack the most basic driving skills of a pimple-studded, brain-addled teenager, not only did she lack the minimum acumen required for acquisition of a driving license, she also seemed to be living under the impression that laws were made only to be obeyed in foreign countries. My friends, I've often taken pains to explain on many platforms how I am not against anyone. But I think I have to revise that statement because I now know that I am 100% against Ghanaians who despise Ghana. Don't get me wrong, I mean, you can feel disappointment or disaffection or dissatisfaction or even frustration with our troubled nation. That's just natural when you expect more from your country than you are getting. But the moment you start hating your own country, you no longer belong in it. And this woman actually thought I was wrong for doing the right thing. And she clearly believed that there was no place for doing right in Ghana. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't think what use such a person is to our country. I mean, all of us, even those who are frustrated with our country, want things to be better. We only get frustrated when the right thing is not being done. We want the right thing to be done. So what is the point of a Ghanaian who thinks it is wrong to do the right thing? Yesterday, I was shocked to realize that such a Ghanaian exists. But after a while, the shock wore off. And I started to realize that there are far more of such Ghanaians than I imagined. I mean, if policemen are becoming armed robbers, if religious leaders are becoming con men, if judges are becoming goat herders, if mothers are killing their sons, fathers are killing their daughters, if journalists are telling lies, if teachers are cheating for students, if doctors and nurses are causing death, if politicians are serving themselves instead of serving the people, then really, don't many of us also believe that it is wrong to do the right thing? Don't many of us also believe that doing right only happens in foreign countries? Don't many of us hate Ghana? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, but I'm not that bad. I'm sure even that misguided matron who nearly ran me over yesterday doesn't actually think she hates her country too. But trust me, the moment you do the wrong thing and you think it's okay because everyone else is doing it, that's the moment you dredge up the oldest, flakiest globules of phlegm from the deepest corners of your infected throat and spit it in the face of your country. That's the moment you give up on Ghana. And the sad thing is, we're all guilty of this in one way or another. I mean, I'd like to believe that the vast majority of us are non-bribe-taking, non-child-raping, non-law-breaking citizens, right? But let me ask you this. How many of you heard my zebra crossing ordeal and thought to yourselves, Kujupa, but this happens all the time. No driver stops for pedestrians on a zebra crossing in Ghana. Well, there you go. I mean, you may not have been the optically impaired driver who nearly knocked me over yesterday, but you certainly believe that her Neanderthal driving skills are in perfect alignment with the Ghanaian norm. But this happens all the time, right? For all of you who don't understand why I'm shocked every time a child is defiled, for all of you who don't get the big deal when a policeman takes a bribe, when a patient dies because there's no oxygen, when a priest sleeps with his church member's wife or a politician becomes a millionaire after 3 years in office, for all of you who think these things are normal, Why do you hate your country? It's the only one you've got. And good things do happen in Ghana too. My name is Kojo Yankson, and I don't think this is some foreign country. I think this is the greatest country. Good morning, Ghana.
Well, time for us to do the news. In our first story, the Ministry of Education is challenging the Auditor General's report that there were budget overruns in GETFund's 2017-2018 academic period. Public Relations Officer for the ministry, Vincent Ekoasefua, explains that the Auditor General failed to draw a distinction between the academic and the fiscal year. He was speaking on Current Affairs show PM Express right here.
The Auditor General made mention of the fact that 2017-2018 academic years, they had a budget overrun.
Significantly.
And that is false. You know why?
In 2018, the budget overrun, according to the Auditor General, was 100%.
Yeah.
In 2017, it exceeded its budget again by 60.93%.
Yes. That is because the Auditor General failed to bring about the distinction between academic year and fiscal year. And that report was actually submitted back to Auditor General to incorporate it into the final report, yet they failed.
So
because if you check 2017, let me give these figures. 2017, the amount of monies that were supposed to be spent, that is budgeted for GETFund to use in 2017 was about 50 million. They spent 50 million in 2017. Now in 2018, they were given 40 million to spend.
For scholarship?
Absolutely. And GETFund spent, they were given about 45 million to spend, and GETFund spent about 30 million. Which means that for the period of 2017-2018, GETFund was actually within budget, and in respect of 2018, they were not able to even spend up to the budget that was given to GETFund.
So what, the ministry is challenging the findings as it relates to 2017-2018?
It is not the ministry per se, it is GETFund who submitted that part of the report back to the Auditor General to incorporate into the final report.
But the GETFund issued a statement. They never said this. They issued a statement on the back of this on Monday.
Well, the statement that was issued was a general statement. I am now going into the details, absolutely the specifics.
Okay.
And we wrote back to the Auditor General to make that correction, yet they failed.
Okay, I'll come.
In a related development, the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs and Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, has jumped to the defense of members of parliament who were captured in the Auditor General's report as being beneficiaries of the GETFund scholarship scheme. Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh and Deputy Majority Leader Sarah Adwoa-Safo were among MPs that benefited from the GETFund scholarship. However, Mr. Osei Mensah Bonsu says MPs are not very well resourced and therefore can also at some point be classified as needy.
I think that MPs are well endowed. I would suggest to you that it's not like that at all.
But they are not needy. Under the laws that govern the GETFund.
What is needy?
It's needy is needy. Your constituents who
no, what is needy?
Who you fund with
if somebody wants to continue his education, right, at a particular time, he or she cannot provide the funding himself for that enterprise.
Member of Parliament.
No, I'm saying. Yes, member of Parliament. You think that if maybe the person has to pay about $10,000 for one term, the member of Parliament can afford that?
Should be able to afford that.
You don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. Honestly, you don't know what you're talking about. You are one of those people who think that the MPs are very well resourced.
No, but there's opportunity cost. That $10,000 to the MP means 10,000 cedi less for somebody in his constituency who really, really needs that money.
Yes, I'm saying that.
I'm asking a general question. Should there be any circumstance where member of parliament should benefit from a state scholarship that is defined in the law as for the needy?
It's if at that critical point, the member can be classified as needy. At that critical point.
Can that ever happen, that a member of parliament can be classified as needy?
Why not? I have said I have not assessed it.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for all of them.
But you defend, you're not condemning the fact that the members of parliament...
You seem to think that they are not needy.
But you say they are.
I'm saying that they are, because because you seem to think that the remuneration of the member of parliament should be sufficient to cater for him.
But does that justify? I get the point.
And I'm saying that it's not.
Justify you relying on.
I have said that I don't, and I don't know the condition.
Okay.
They
so
were
it doesn't justify.
in the condition they were in before they applied.
And surprisingly, Mr. Osei Mensah Bonsu also disagrees with the modus operandi of the Auditor General.
I disagree with the modus of the Auditor General. The Auditor General everywhere is a tool for Parliament in the performance of its oversight functions. It's the reason why the Constitution imposes some injunction on the Auditor General to, once he finishes with his report after interrogating the public accounts of the country, to submit that report to Parliament.
They say they have.
And if they have submitted a report, it's for Parliament to interrogate the report. Parliament hasn't done so yet. The Constitution provides in Article 187, the Auditor General shall, within 6 months after the end of the immediately preceding financial year to which each of the accounts mentioned in Clause 2 of this article relates, submit his report to Parliament, and shall, in that report, draw attention to any irregularities in the accounts audited and to any other matter which, in his opinion, ought to be brought to the notice of Parliament. Then 6 says, Parliament shall debate the report of the Auditor General and appoint, where necessary, in the public interest, a committee to deal with any matters arising from it. And then you go out and leak the report to the press.
It wasn't leaked, it was on its website.
It's not right.
And there have been surges in power cuts, and this continues to bite hard on ordinary Ghanaians. And we hear from some small business owners in one of Accra's biggest slum communities, Nima, who are reeling under the pressure of these daily blackouts being experienced. Our own Komladon visited the community to interact with some of them.
Light na some dear mpacho e hard drink kakra because light na ye die ejuma obaya ayon light na ode beye obaya pama ade no so a.
I don't even understand what is going on with these power outages. No one has told us anything, and our businesses has been affected.
Wahun ye jino a light ni ho no obaya den na waye ejuma no ntina eyesa eba na sa no na o disappoint o customers no.
Customers no mo complaining.
Oh, mo complaining mom because disappointment there ya na eya nipa ne see ya de no ma betimi aye oh metimi aye by the ben oh ebia by Thursday and Friday brabaje na se ebia why busy na wo ya de na light na ekọ office anu a na che se edwuma no wentimi anye
light off ne de omo ye no ye kra ye dwenwa ye ntiase light off na.
I don't even understand what is going on with these power outages. No one has told us anything, and our businesses has been affected.
Afani nye edwuma kwala be ye din ada. Aha sana light off no so e ba ni sana ha nkrofo edwuma because Nima Burkina fo na Lamuji fo so bolo.
There are lots of mosquitoes in Nima here. And the only way, and using the fan enables our children to sleep. So you can imagine what is happening.
Light off starts here.
Light off the attempts to say light off na no yet didn't cry yet me doom no 3 days.
So you can imagine what our children go through with these power outages.
Na light in New
light problem situation no dey feel say normal fault be about area.
For the whole day, we are unable to work because of the power outages. It is affecting our productivity. Can government tell us something? Because we need to know what's going on so that we can plan well and not make losses.
Yeah,
high kakra and low current. Once a
I'm a cold store operator, and low voltage is affecting the preservation of fresh meat here. We are unable to power our cold rooms and large coolers.
A transformer no load no Dawson. Space transformer for.
So they should fix the problem immediately.
But space, ammonia. And a main problem one woman as a jamana low current.
Well, this will become a topical discussion for us this morning when we have the Member of Parliament for Myong, Mohammed Abdulaziz, in the studio, as well as a former Member of Parliament for Bantama, Henry Kwabena Kukufu, right here for some great interactions. But talking about bringing to you up to speed with the latest with the surge in the coronavirus. We know we'll take you around to this site that gives you a daily update on all the things you need to know. Now, let me just give you what the indices or the indicators are. Where you see the thick red spot, so you get to find out that's where the main confirmed cases and the deaths are. Now, you get to find that elsewhere around Asia, you have spots indicating where the cases are in red. And then you have Africa, but you go to Europe, a number of the cases resulting in some deaths also recorded as well. And then you come to North America, you have 2 spots there, and then Latin America. When you zoom in, let's go to Asia quickly. You go to Asia, where the epicenter is. We have Wuhan and subsequently other cities in Asia. You have confirmed cases, 79,000. Confirmed cases, 2,744 deaths so far recorded, but there have been cases and confirmed deaths in Hong Kong, Macau as well, Taiwan with 1 reported death, the Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia with no deaths so far, but still a confirmed case. And in Thailand, even though there have been no fatalities so far, 40 cases have been recorded. Now, when you shift you go upwards, you go to the other sections of the subcontinent towards the east, you get to find out Pakistan had 2 confirmed cases so far. Nepal, we also have India with 3 cases, no deaths, and that's where it becomes a bit tricky. In Iran, as the main center of the Middle East, you get to find out there are 139 confirmed cases and 19 reported deaths. Now, out of these 139 cases is Iran's deputy health minister. It tells you how serious the problem is and how the health system in Iran is not able to come to term or be able to have a grip on the situation. Now, let's go up sections in Northern Europe. You get to find that some difficulties in Georgia. You go to the East, Russia, and etc. Even though cases have not been recorded, the government there is making sure that they have their borders well checked. The health of the people is also made an integral section of what the daily life is. In Germany, there are 18 cases, Denmark 1, and then we do have Switzerland having a confirmed case. But let's go to the UK, 13, Belgium 1 with no deaths at all, France with 18 confirmed cases, 2 reported deaths so far, Spain having 12 and no reported deaths. Now, it's in Italy where the health system doesn't seem to be able to have a certain grip on the cases. So far, 12 reported deaths, and this is real-time data. Real-time data, as of now, we have 400 cases. So if you go to the site, you get to come to terms with what the situation is. Let's go down. China so far has 78,000 cases, still just rising, trickling in a little bit, not as you find. And then the deaths are 2,744. And then you come down, you have South Korea, and there's an interesting aspect of a cruise ship that has a number of people on board, and so far 4 cases, 4 deaths recorded, even though we've had 164 cases so far, 691 cases so far. And Japan is also coming to terms with it. Now, in South Korea, there was supposed to have been a military drill because the U.S. has about 20,000, troops stationed in South Korea. There was supposed to have been a military drill with their South Korean counterpart just because of the state of the relationship with North Korea and this has been called off because the U.S. Military deems the health of its personnel quite crucial to its international military incursions and the stability of the world. Now let's go down and see where we have. It's in Africa that if you can, we'll have a number of cases in Northern Africa. And so we have Egypt, and Algeria has a case, and then you have Egypt also having a case. Apart from that, we're still on the lookout. If anything untoward comes, we'll get you up to speed with this. And look, this real-time data we can only give you right here on the AM show. But please make sure that you get interactive. Facebook Joy News on TV is always available for you. We also do have a Twitter handle at Joy News on TV. And please watch us live each minute of the day through My Jawline TV on YouTube. We have to take a break. When we come back, we have more news as we do look at the stories occupying the front pages of the newspapers. Do stay with us. Well, Mama V is here. Mama V.
Oh, good morning, Roland.
Yeah. Are you feeling the heat? I feel lots of heat.
Charlie.
And then if there are those surges in power, then it makes
it worse.
Climate change is not good.
It makes it worse.
I wish I was living in the 14th century when the climate was good. Africa was not hot. I would have been moving around with Sundiata, Mansa Musa.
Roland.
I'm telling you, son of Mansa Musa, the richest man. But look, Karim Bukari. Mr. Karim Bukari works with the Forestry Commission. You're based in Jasikan, and your family is in Sunyain currently. Good morning to you. Salif Fukombat, currently in Tamale, heading towards Boku this morning. Good morning as well. I haven't finished last one. Nana Benyin Brentson, you're in Cape Coast. Good morning to you as well. Okay, it's 46 minutes past. I've been alerted by my director. Too many requests.
Let's do the newspapers.
Yes,
I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Graphic. Taxi driver busted for cocaine, expels 100 pellets after quarantine. Story says, and it's by Mary Mensah of the Daily Graphic. It says officials of the Narcotics Control Board at the Kotoka International Airport have busted a Ghanaian taxi driver based in the Netherlands for allegedly trafficking in a narcotic drug. The suspect, Oponkwe Kowusu, 52, was arrested at the departure hall of KIA while going through departure formalities to board a flight back to his base in the Netherlands. He was pulled in aside by NACOP officials on suspicion of having ingested some foreign substances, but he denied vehemently. However, a search in his carry-on bag revealed 3 large parcels of a substance suspected to be narcotic drug, okay, which is all a bit unbelievable because why would you carry this, like that? But it says for which reason he was detained for further questioning. When he realized that time was running out for him, he broke down and confessed that he had swallowed some pellets of cocaine. He was then placed under close observation by NACOP officials, during which he managed to expel all the 100 thumb-sized pellets of a powdery substance suspected to be narcotic drug, which he had swallowed. So you'd see very detailed, like if you go to page 3, the investigators from NACOP cutting open the suspect's hand luggage. Okay, so I don't think it was just you open the bag and then you see the substances. I guess they had to dig in and do a lot more work. We don't do that border control in terms of the series in Ghana, but I'm just picturing that
because you
border
get to find
control.
That a good friend of mine, Benjamin Tufomenu in the UK, always refers me to their YouTube channel, the Border Patrol guard. They are always with the sniffing dogs or the sniffer dogs going around the luggage or the baggage. And at the end of the day, if they get to suspect anything, the dogs will fish you out. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot more details on page 3. He arrived in Ghana February 7. You can read all about, the backstory to this in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Still on the front page, though, Anadako sells Ghana assets to Total for $2.5 billion. ECG halts maintenance to reduce outages. That story on page 16 in the Graphic. It's got the picture of the managing director, Mr. Kwame Ajimai Buru. So page 16 says The Electricity Company of Ghana has halted maintenance work of its 6,623 transformers within the Greater Accra region until ongoing works on the West African gas pipeline are completed next month. The move was to ensure that daytime power outages that resulted from the shutdown of the transformers to allow for maintenance works were reduced to the barest minimum. That's according to the managing director as he spoke to the Daily Graphic. He said the works would remain on hold until ongoing works on the pipeline, which were also interrupting upstream power generation, were completed. So this gives the indication that ECG itself is also doing some maintenance work. That's different from what the gas pipeline is doing in terms of our connection from Nigeria to Ghana. I mean, it's all, you know, still getting bits and pieces, and it's still ECG not directly explaining, or Gridco or any of them directly telling us what to do. And if you speak to the people that we talk to who are the analysts, they say, well, we actually don't even know how much they are shedding right now because nobody's given the information, and the places where we go to source for the information, it's, you know, they've gone blank on us. Nobody's given us anything. It's like we're all in the dark, just like when the lights go off and it's dark. There's no timetable. We've been talking about it. There's still no timetable. So there's a lot more to the story. When we do AM Talk, we would try and bring a lot more angles to this. I guess the bottom line really is that, you know, irrespective of what's happening, we want power. If we don't have the power, we need to see a certain schedule that tells us that there is some works ongoing. But in the meantime, for the next 2 weeks or whatever it is, you go off between this time and that, so people can plan. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But I think also it's also a matter of courtesy, because in customer service, you need to develop that great relationship. And we have relationship with you because we need the power, but we also buy from you.
Exactly.
And you have to give us that courtesy. And I feel that sometimes it's a bit unnerving, a bit insulting.
Yeah.
To know that a big power company that is distributing power would not want to relate well with its customers. And it's appalling.
Yeah, and we have to go chasing them before they can give us some information. But this is also another issue that was huge yesterday, a bit unbelievable because it came from Parliament, particularly the Speaker. The headline on the front page reads, "Your coverage to serve interests of Parliament, Speaker cautions press corps." This is a bit toned down, isn't it? It doesn't give you that. And okay, let's do the center spread.
Well, we do have an insert here, so I do know that Joy News, we have the insert right there.
In the center spread of the paper, Sunyani Traditional Council begins funeral of Queen Mother. That's also brought some, you know, uncomfortable. No, it's not uncomfortable. I mean, uncalled for, especially those videos that we saw. I don't know if Roland, you saw. You know, people chasing. Apparently, you're not supposed to wear white. You're not supposed to wear white. You're supposed to be in black. So if you were seen wearing anything other than black, then they would chase you and whip you.
Yeah, and we've seen the videos.
Beat you.
We've seen the videos.
And we're saying that if that's really true, and it's really true, it's coming from the Sunyani Traditional Council.
Well, it's true. I have a video too.
You have no rights to catch somebody else and beat them. You are not the law.
Yeah, and
you are not the law.
And it speaks volumes about how, in this modern age, we still think that tradition, because it is important, should also infringe on the rights of people.
It is important. It's supposed to be
exactly
side by side. You get what I mean? But everybody's got human rights. Like, I am me, you are you. You have no business, not even the police is allowed to chase people and beat them. You know? And I think sometimes it gets into our heads. Like, you think you're powerful. You're not more powerful.
Because you know, before this, there should have been some sort of education. And they may think that they have educated.
If there is education and people go against it. If that's what we're doing in Ghana.
Because what I see is pure brutality.
Of course it is.
You're brutalized.
It's indiscipline, impunity, and it's just happening because we allow it to happen.
Somebody could fall.
It's not right.
Somebody could fall.
It is absolutely not right.
Just trip.
Yep.
And have a concussion or something of the sort.
All right, so there's another smuggling story on the back page of the Daily Graphic. Tamale GRA office seizes 550 containers of smuggled oil, and police impound 261 motorbikes, 23 tricycles. The Business Finder, front page, oil production under threats as inadequate gas infrastructure poses gloomy prospects. Let's support Ghanaian firms to grow. Ignore rumors of CAP 30 cancellation, according to government. The market summary, if you want to check out how it looks like, well, you can grab the Business Finder. So let's do the Ghanaian Times front page. Legon Center for Migration urges government lift ban on migration to Gulf states. Calm returns to Kumasi Abattoir after 2 butcher factions clash. 12 seriously injured, property destroyed. House approves $895.4 million for Lugu multi-purpose dam projects. NLA vows to clamp down on illegal operation of *959 hash mobile game. And 5 NIB staff in courts for 1.1 million Ghana cedis bank fraud. So they were alleged to have transferred these huge sums to accounts of customers of the bank. So the customers didn't own those monies. They just wired it through their accounts and then, you know, whatever. I'm sure you've heard about stories like that, but here's a real one that's happening. It's rolling out in court. If you're interested, you can follow up. Back page of the paper, construction of cocoa. Not sure if it is Lava Lab, because it's it's flavor. So the print didn't come out well, but it's construction of Cocoa Flavor Lab Quality Training Center underway at Tafo, and 830 inmates discharged through Justice for All program since 2007. The last newspaper is the Daily Statesman. For me, your CAP 30 pension is intact as government assures police, security officers. Information Ministry begins sensitization of MDAs on RTI Act. And John Boedu, General Secretary of the NPP, says date for NPP primaries remains April 25. Apparently, some people are misinforming a section of the public, and they seek to correct that. Roland?
Yeah. Now let's go to the Daily Guide. Has the main story, or the banner headline is the term, I brought free SHS, Mahama claims, has an attack picture of John Dramani Mahama, as the caption reads. We also do have NHIA pays 91 million Ghana cedi claims. Other stories, Nana visits North Pole. Yeah. So you have pictures circulating, especially on social media, but now finding their way on mainstream media. The president of our republic, well clothed, in North Pole-like attire. And so Nana visits North Pole with, or in the company of the minister or the prime minister of Norway and Amir of Kano, who was a former central bank governor of Nigeria, Emir Sanusi of Kano. All right. We also do have Domalavo speaks on MP Get Fund scholarship. There's a statement that was formally issued, and the statement also tells about how the Auditor General's Department did not cause the publications in the media, but they are entitled with the law that grants them the powers to publish on their sites, send that report to Parliament, etc. If the media publishes according to the statement, that should be no fault of the Auditor General, seems to indicate. NLA clamps down on short code operators. I was looking for the short code so that I can test it.
But I thought that by publishing the short code itself, you're given
to see that it works. But I haven't. But my phone is off, so immediately it comes on. I'll test the short code to see whether I'll win. And Tulu took a crap.
Roland, isn't that illegal? No. Isn't that what the whole thing is?
The NLA, which is the authority that regulates, it says it is illegal. Yeah, but the short code, I want to test it. May test it.
How do you test something that the regulator says is illegal?
Evidence-based approach. have to test it. To me, test it.
Well, are you the regulator or you are the regulator?
I want to see whether truly you go, I go feel win something.
So I didn't even get until I read the headline, and I thought by publishing the short code itself, you're making it more popular now.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, gamers will quickly go and scramble. So they should have just gone on the silent.
Whose communication strategy was that? Yeah. To put it right back in the papers and in the media.
It's got a pros and cons relationship.
I didn't know there was a short code.
Yeah, I didn't know either. But it's because you don't belong to the gaming community. Because even though you've seen the short code, you are not interested. But you know, I've seen the short code, I'm interested.
Yeah, but you didn't know before. But now
so your argument holds. But at the same time, you are not a converted person, even though you've seen the short code. So both of us have got.
Okay, well,
if you don't like lotto or gambling, I mean, you're not going to like it. So. Charlie,
we've got to run. We've got sports coming your way, but real quick, maybe we can do a minute of myjournline.com if it's possible. Oh, sorry.
79 vibe for 27 seats in Eastern Region. And some interesting issues. The Daily Dispatch newspaper. And, you know, our own friend Seth Echampong is vying for the seat alongside a good friend of ours too, David.
That's what it is. He is the incumbent.
Well, he's the incumbent, and he's doing this with David Ansaupuku. You know him very well.
No, I don't. Let's do myjournline. I know Seth Echampong very well. Front page. Did I say front page of myjournline? Ayaka. All right, let's do myjournline.com. NDC wants NPP youth organizer investigated over alleged involvement in illegal mining. Details there on myjournline. Also, how a Nigerian woman ended up married to 2 men. Fantastic. You know, when a man does it, it's no news. When a woman does it, I guess it's headline. Get fund scholarships. I disagree with modus of Auditor General. That's according to the majority leader. I wonder exactly what is.
As you move on, David Ansaupuku is OPK.
Yes, I know. Illegal mining. So you know I know the name. I don't know the personality. Tax force destroys 250 dredging boats on River Cobra. Health and economic impact of motorbikes and tricycles for commercial transport. Kumasi perspective. Oh, I see some hats right there. What's that? Oh, Hearts Protocol match in London postponed. Doesn't have to do with the coronavirus, does it? Well, Benedict will be here. He will explain. Receiver for defined financial institutions to issue 8,000 claims. Didn't quite end. Parliament denies press gagging. Claims against Speaker. Charlie, I read the text. Is that what Mr. Speaker said?
That what? You mean the text and what the Speaker said?
Disgusting. Media personnel rise against Speaker's threats to withdraw journalist accreditation. That one, dear Charlie, it is below the belts. You know? I don't know. I thought, like, you're telling us what to do now? I mean, like that. We will talk about the Speaker's issue and whether it was a warning, it was a gagging, it was a threat on AM Talk after sport. But we've got a lot of sports to share with you here on the show. What do you want to say?
Nothing.
Mr. Speaker will sack you. Like it's a privilege to report from Parliament. Yeah, apparently it is. Stay with us. You're watching the AM show. Well, thank you for staying with us here on the AM show. Time now for us to do some talk. We're talking about some of the big issues happening in our country. Top on that list definitely will be the power outages. My guest, one in studio now seated, Mohammed Abdulaziz is Member of Parliament for Myo. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You're good?
I'm blessed.
Nice.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Well, he sits on a number of committees in Parliament. That includes the Local Government and Rural Development, Government Assurance Committee, Special Budgets, Communications, Poverty Reduction Strategy. Lots of committees. Are you still
Interestingly, I would have to make time to go and correct the information on our Parliament website. I serve on Local Government Committee and Poverty Reduction Strategy Committee. Okay. I don't know why my name is captured under Special Budgets Communications. I don't serve on those committees. Okay. At least every member serves on 2, maximum 3 committees. Okay. I serve on 2 committees.
Otherwise, you'll be too busy.
I'll be too busy.
Well, our first issue has to do, of course, with the power outages. I'll come to you, Mr. Abdulaziz, but I want us to go on the phone lines first and speak to Mr. Kwame Gentwa, who's an energy analyst. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us here on Joy News on the Show. Hello, sir. If you can hear me, can you? Good morning to you.
I can hardly hear you.
Okay, great. So, since yesterday
I can hardly hear you.
You can hardly hear me? Okay. Yes. So maybe we have to reconnect again because I'm talking on top of my voice right now. Is it better? Is it a better connection?
Yes, this is better.
Okay, great. We've been trying to find what's been happening in the energy sector with the power outages. Yesterday, I engaged Mr. Bembuachi and Kojo Poku, who is also an energy analyst. And, you know, the conversation really was the fact that in the end, it looks like there's a blackout, really. We don't know how much load we're shedding. We're not sure exactly what's happening. Maybe you have some more concrete story to tell. So first of all, let me ask from what's your understanding of what's happening currently?
Well, yesterday, good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. Yesterday, I tried to find out from Ghana Gas whether there was a major problem with the production of gas to the IPPs and to all those they serve who generate electricity. And what they said to me was that there was planned maintenance on the pipeline between Etuabo and Tema, and another planned maintenance between Etuabo and the Takrady IPPs, and that it was something that had been planned and something that the government announced that such a thing would happen. And also they indicated the West African gas pipeline maintenance that was going on. So this has created some distribution challenges, but they were sure that by next week everything would be kosher. Now, the way I look at it is that you knew these planned, and that's the operative word, that there were going to be planned maintenance. Do we not plan for those planned maintenance? And so if we're not going to be able to send gas to some of these IPPs and some of these generation plants, don't we plan for other fuels to be used? And if we don't plan, don't we tell the people that, look, this is going to go on, so we're bringing out a load shedding program so that everybody can be aware of what is happening and give a time scale as to when this planned maintenance would end. And I think for me, it's been a question of having adequate funds and being able to plan towards whatever maintenance is going on. I don't understand how you are doing maintenance, and because you're doing maintenance, the people should go through load shedding. I don't understand that. I don't see how that works, because we pay our electricity bills. In fact, this morning, I've been listening on your sister program, the fact that we don't have street lights and some of the mayhem it's causing on the road. So far as I can see, and so far as I hear what they say, I don't think they have handled this thing properly. The sad thing about it is also that it's not the first time of going through planned maintenance. It's not the first time of going through Dumsor. Dumsor has been with us since the time of President Rawlings. Every president that has come in the Fourth Republic has experienced Dumsor, and you'd have thought by now we would have gotten it down to a T as to how to handle it. I don't see how you do not advise your clients that we're going through this particular exercise, and so we do not have an alternative. So this is the program for load shedding so that people can plan. I remember during the 4 years of Dumsor, what most Ghanaians were saying, okay, if you can't find us an alternative, please tell us. Tell us when this thing is going to start. Tell us which areas are going to go off. Tell us when it's going to end. We don't seem to have learned from that. And I find it very difficult that government after government would repeat the same mistakes. So, it shows not just to the people.
So how should the people, it's good you went to the people, how should the people be understanding, you know, what's happening? How should we take it? Because the fear really, and a lot of people, because we're all feeling it, and it's, you actually don't know when it's going to happen. It just reminds you that Dumsor is back. Is that the understanding that we should get?
You see, the mistake a lot of the authorities are making is what has been embedded in the minds of the people. Dumsor through the years has affected a lot of Ghanaians. And so it's already in the minds of the people. The moment you feel or you see the lights going out, 2-3 days, everybody says Dumsor is back. And so you communicate effectively with the people. That is what kills perception. Every step of the way, even if it's the load shedding is for 1 day, even if the maintenance is for 1 day, continuously communicate with the people. Give you a typical example. PDS. After the debacle of PDS, has anybody come back to Ghanaians to say what we are going to do to restore or how we are going to get the distribution side of ECG on a straight course? Has anybody said anything? I don't know whether you have heard. Nobody has said anything after the debacle of PDS. How do Ghanaians know what is happening? And energy is key in everything we do. Key. As I speak to you now, if the lights go off, kaput, no interview. You can't do your work. That shows how important energy is. And if it's so important, you need to communicate to the people. Let us be part and parcel of that tenure of communication so that everybody is aware. But if you keep quiet and you assume that, oh, the people will take it, oh, it is something that Ghanaians are used to, you're making a big mistake. And that is one of the challenges I find with successive governments with regards to Dumsor. Communication is key.
Just before I end this conversation with you, do you know how much load we're shedding? Are we still blank on exactly what's coming in, what we're generating today?
At the present moment, I do not know what available fuel there is to power which IPPs, to power generation plants, and I haven't been told how much load we are shedding. All this information should be at the tip of our fingers. All this information, ECG should come up with it. And in fact, where ECG is concerned, we have reverted to you with regards to the debacle of PDS. Isn't it time for you to do things right so that Ghanaians can be on your side and talk for you when something like PDS comes up again? But no, we've gone back to our normal self, where ECG won't even tell us how much load we are shedding. I do not know what the fear is. And government should be very careful, because Dumsor was what took the NDC out of power. It shouldn't take Ghanaians for granted. Shouldn't.
Well, I thank you for your time with the analysis this morning. Grateful, Mr. Kwame Jantua is an energy analyst. Also joining us via phone before we come to the studio is the Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment. He also chairs the Technical Committee of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Mr. Ishmael Ajekum-Hene, it's good to speak to you. Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
So the analysts are struggling to find what the issues are, but I want you to talk to us as citizens who are experiencing these blackouts, and we have no idea when this is going to end. we actually also don't know when it's happening or when it will not happen. How should we be taking this?
Well, as a consumer of electricity, it is never fair for anybody to be in a situation where you don't know when the power is going to be off and when it's going to come back on. That is not acceptable under any circumstances. So, first and foremost, the lack of communication from the side of the utilities to the consumers is never the best. But whether or not it's the utilities who are refusing to communicate or there is some higher authority refusing to let them communicate, that's another issue that we probably can interrogate. But the bottom line really is that there's been some generation shortfall. And the thing is, when they announced to us in late January that they were going to do the pigging, I think it should have sent us enough signal that there could be some interruptions in the power supply situation. But instead of probably telling us upfront that, look, because we're taking down several of the gas-fired plants, there could be the possibility that some load will be shared. Nobody added that to the announcement, and they were made to understand that the deficit that is going to be created as a result of the gas-fired plants going off will be fixed through other sources. Unfortunately, that's not what we've seen. So, yes, there's been a deficit in the region of between 150 megawatts and 200 megawatts, which is being managed. But I think the concerns that Ghanaians are raising very legitimate, and nobody wants to have the situation where you can't plan your life. I think the good side to all this is that it's probably coming to the end of this situation, and I think we've endured enough the whole of February with all these outages. I think.
How do you know we're coming to the end of something that nobody's sharing details, with us, the people?
Well, I don't know how the details you're talking about, but I've heard the Deputy Minister of Energy telling everybody that the planned maintenance of the pipelines is done. By the end of this week, it will be done. The truth of the matter is that it's gas supply that is creating the problem. It's not that we don't have the gas from the upstream, but it's a transmission network that needed to be maintained. If the pigging exercise is done, and that was the timeline given to us in January the 27th, then the problem should be resolving, because then there will be sufficient gas from the western corridor flowing even to the eastern corridor to be able to power the plants that run on gas. So I think that we are coming to the end of the challenges that they told us, and come next week, if this thing is still happening, then somebody needs to tell us the full story. But where I sit and from what I've found out, the pigging exercise which created this whole problem should be done this week, and the gas should start flowing.
Let me now talk to you as chairman of the technical committee of the PRC. I mean, everybody's been complaining the PRC has been quiet, and I'm not talking to you as a spokesperson of the PRC. But just asking, what should the PRC be doing at this time?
Okay, so Mamavi, you are right. I'm not supposed to speak for the PRC, not even for the commission. But as regulators, it's our responsibility to at least get the full facts and then let the people know. But that information can only come from GRIDCO. I haven't checked with the Secretariat whether we've been briefed on the most current, most recent situation. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow. But yeah, as regulators, we should be able to get the utilities to communicate to the citizenry, telling them exactly what is going on and what they should be expecting. When you talk to ECG will tell you that they can't do any load shedding schedule unless they are told how much load they should be shedding. Meanwhile, that is not also consistent. Sometimes it's as little as maybe 20 megawatts, sometimes 50 megawatts. Other times it's 150. So you wouldn't be able to plan with that kind of information, and you wouldn't be able to tell people. And I'm sure it's going to be worse if you are told that you're going to have light and then you end up not having light. So from the distribution side, they have very little. They can do very little unless they are told the exact quantum of load they should be shedding. So I think that the PRC, I heard the PRO, or the director in charge of regional operations, talking about the fact that some people who reported that their appliances have been damaged should be able to report to the PRC. But on the broader picture, the PRC should get the utilities to be able to give us the details. What we are hearing is that towards the end of this week, this problem should be resolved. But going forward, we shouldn't keep people in the dark, and that information flow should. As a commission, we don't run the secretariat. We go in as and when we have a meeting, and this thing happened. Our next meeting is going to be on, I think, tomorrow.
And I hope that you bring that issue strongly when you meet.
Yes, okay. Yes. We always raise that, and even when we are not meeting, we talk. So sometimes we all don't know what's going on until we go ask the secretariat, and that's not right. That we wait until people are asking questions before they are told exactly what the problems are.
Thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Ishmael Ajekum-Hene is Executive Director of KITES, also Chairman of the Technical Committee of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Let's come back into the studio. Also joining the conversation in studio is Mr. Henry Kwabena Kokofu, who is former member of Bantama. He's a member of the NPP communications team and also a legal practitioner who is not contesting the Bantama seat. You're not part of those who are contesting?
Yes, I'm not part.
Okay. Why?
But why should I? Why should I be contested?
Okay.
Anyway, let me say good morning.
Yeah, sure. Good morning. Ms. Abdulaziz, you've been listening from the very beginning on this power situation. How is it affecting you personally?
Good morning to you. Good morning to Honorable. Good morning to our viewers, especially my constituents. Very disturbing situation in our homes.
Are you affected?
I am. For a couple of days, I've had my power off. We those who are unable to afford generator sets, you are compelled to sleep in darkness.
Many of your constituents experience that. So
exactly. Some even don't even have.
You're representing us, you should experience what we experience.
Some don't even have access to electricity. I have about 200 or so communities that are not connected to the national grid, and so when you have some of these issues, then you can feel what others go through throughout their lifetime. But to speak about the general issue of the energy crisis, what we need to admit is that, you see, the previous doomsday that we had that our colleagues from the NPP made a lot of noise about largely was from two angles. We're talking about issues of capacity and also fuel. And President Mahama and the NDC faced the issues frontally. I remember when we came to power in 2009, our generation capacity was something less than 2,000 megawatts. Before President Mahama and the NDC led power in 2016, we had moved it from a little under 2,000 to over 4,000 megawatts. There was also the issue of fuel. And so President Mills, President Mahama, the Atuabo gas project, and many other, the ENI gas project, were things that we supervised just to be able to have a regular supply of gas and not depend only on gas supply from Nigeria. And so we faced the issues frontally. We admitted there was doomsday. There was a timetable that was released, and we did what we could do. And remember,
you make it sound like it was so smooth.
No, I told you that there was doomsday. Doomsday cannot be smooth. But I'm telling you some of the things that we did.
And then you mentioned the timetable.
Yes, it was a timetable. You knew when your life was going to go off.
Eventually.
And emergency power plants, Ameri, Car Power, and many other emergency power plants were brought into this country. Our colleagues from the other side wouldn't take any excuse, even though there was a very clear indication that President Mahama and the NDC were committed to resolving the issue. And mind you, doing so was not the creation of President Mahama or President Mills, so it's been something that, even under President Rawlings, since the inception of the Fourth Republic, every president have had his or her share of Dumsor, including President Kufuor. And so I'm telling you what we did as a party and as a government to commit ourselves to resolving the issues of Dumsor. Even the ESLA that our colleagues refer to as a nuisance tax, ESLA was to recalibrate and have a comprehensive tax handle that could deal with the legacy debts. And before we left power, we had paid about some $200 million in respect of the legacy debt. So there was a comprehensive plan by President Mahama and the NDC to deal with the issue. And thank God before we left power, we had resolved that issue somewhere in March 2016. I remember when the then vice, running mate to Nana Akufo-Addo, even in your studios, said that President Mahama didn't deserve any credit for resolving Dumsor. After all, in his estimation, President Mahama plunged us into Dumsor. You also remember the issue of the $498 million Compact 2 that we secured from the Millennium Challenge Corporation in the US, all targeted at reforming the energy sector. And so our track record as a party and as a government in dealing with the power sector cannot be challenged. Today, what our colleagues should do and what the ministry should do, what President Akufo-Addo should do, is to accept that we have Dumsor. Now they say what they have is regular maintenance. Ours was Dumsor. The fact is that once you have power outages that lasts for some time, for some considerable time, you need to admit that. That's why we call in our local plans as Dumsor. They should admit to it. But you know why they cannot admit to it? Because of their immediate past actions and words. They are unable to admit that what we are going through is Dumsor. But the challenge I have with them is that they have no reason whatsoever to subject us to what we are going through today. After all, capacity is no more an issue. In Ghana today, our peak time demand is about 2,700, 2,900. You have an installed capacity of about 4,000 or more. You have no issue with a capacity. President Mahama left behind a very considerable amount of generation capacity. You have no excuse. We have gas from Atuabu. We didn't have that 100 President Mahama. We have gas.
You stood in Parliament.
Now, let me just make this final point. Now, we are being told that they are doing what they call pigging on our gas pipelines, cleaning the pipelines. Why? If we don't have gas, you buy fuel to fire the plants. America can use fuel. Kappa can. We have a lot of plants that are dual fuel plants. And so if you can't get gas, buy fuel.
Are you considering costs as you say buy fuel?
Oh, what has changed today that they cannot buy fuel? We bought fuel to power some of the plants. We did. So it is just a matter of the government being broke. They cannot get money to buy fuel to power the plants. They cannot meet statutory payments. And I'm worried that as a country, as a system, we are broke. But the individuals are rich. The party is rich. Government appointees are very MPP. And let me just give a very good example. At the very time that we cannot get money to even buy fuel to power our plants, just last December, during the Christmas, every branch executive, and do you know how many branch executives we have in Ghana for each of the parties, MPP and NDC? Over 30,000 polling stations. Each polling station has a minimum of 5 executives. Each of them receive 100 Ghana cedis for Christmas.
From who?
From MPP as a party. It's on record. They can't deny it.
So what's wrong with that? What's your issue with that?
My issue is that we are unable to get money to buy fuel to power our plants, and yet we can get money for our party activities. It is worrying. The system is damn broke. Look, they must admit that Dumsor is back. They must release a timetable that would guide industry and homes so that you know that today I don't have power. You can plan. Can you imagine a family of 4 or 5, in a very challenging economy like we are going through, who will go and do their soup or some stew that can last them for a week, only to come back from work and they are all gone bad? They'll be forced to go back to the market under these hard times. So all that we are saying is that, please, Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP, they should release a timetable that will guide individuals and companies.
Mr. Kokofu,
yes.
Do you experience what the rest of us experience in terms of the power outages where you live?
No, I do not.
Oh. Where do you live, sir?
Community 20.
Okay. There hasn't been any power cuts?
Of Abattoir, yeah.
Then you will not appreciate what we're talking about, would you?
Oh, why
or
not?
what Ghanaians are complaining about?
Oh, why not?
I have relatives, I have friends, and I've been hearing some of the complaints coming up here and there. But let us situate the whole challenges that we go through. When we talk about DUMSO, or we talk about planned power outages, we're talking about a long-term effect, something that has the propensity to stay with us for a longer period of time. And that, I mean, it's an acute situation where somehow hopelessness sets in. They keep on saying, yes, DUMSO happened with Rawlings, it happens with Kufuor and all that and all that. We are looking at the time frame. A month power outages due to challenges here and there, or maintenance, routine maintenance being carried out, or is it the case for an entire 4-year running? We have these power outages and cost so much economic loss to industry, the medical field, health sector, so to speak, and indeed all spheres of our economic sectors. We are here where we are because of planned, it wasn't unplanned, planned routine maintenance that was going on. Maybe along the line, unfortunately, they might have miscalculated something of the sort. The Deputy Minister, Ureku Edu, has come out to explain to the people of Ghana that within a matter of days, we should be able to cross over.
But you know that's not the issue of the people. I mean, we know that we will go through challenges. But why not tell us? Why don't you tell us when we are going to go off so we can plan? I guess it's recently, I mean, that's what people are echoing. That's the message. I should know when I'm going to go off.
Yes, that rests with the power distributors, I mean, those working around it.
That's not an issue for the energy ministry? Well, that's the supervising ministry?
Well, that is part of that. It is their responsibility to come out to tell us exactly what is going on and what we need to do. But for my colleagues at the other side to paint the picture as if we are back to their dark old days where you wake up totally and there's no light for you and all that, power for you and all that, industry suffered. We are not there, and we will not get there. Don't pray and don't hope for calamity or something.
Are they praying and hoping?
Yes.
Are they not just telling us what the reality is? What
No, they are hoping for what do you normally call what? I mean, there was DUMSO in our time, so today too there's DUMSO in the time of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. No, we are not in that situation yet. We haven't gone there.
So which situation are we in?
Where
is it not power cuts?
Where there are routine maintenance, and indeed, in all industry, in all spheres, if you have your vehicle, your car, there will be a time you need to take it to.
Yeah, but you plan and make alternative arrangements, don't you?
And you have your car, you have a planned routine maintenance taking.
Mm-hmm. And what's your plan B? What's your alternative?
And don't forget, your car may decide to brake in the middle of the street when maybe you've done maintenance and all that. Machines are machines, and as you go on, you are bound to face some of these obstacles. If you listen to the expert, I mean, he's from PRC.
Yes, the chairman of the technical committee.
If you listen to him carefully, he was able to tell us that his search has revealed that within some few days, we are going to get out of this. And again, the DUMSO that we experienced under NDC president, former President Mahama, cut across the entire nation. Now we are experiencing these challenges at some part of the nation, not the entirety of the nation. I mean, it has not engulfed the entire nation as they want us to believe. So I will entreat the operators, the stakeholders, those who are supposed to are now those who have the mandate to ensure smooth supply of electricity, and for that matter, power, to come out, tell us exactly where we are and where we'll be heading towards. That was a legitimate request from the people of Ghana, which I side with. We should know the state where we are in and where we'll be going further. But for equalization purposes, that NDC want to put it out there.
Is it only NDC that is complaining?
Yeah. No, Ghanaians, I've told you, legitimately, Ghanaians have the right to complain and to ask for.
But when the NDC does, then it's equalization.
No, you see that twist they give to it, and it's like, yes, we experience doomsday, and today too, yes, there's doomsday, as if they are happy that we are in there, just for them to have some kind of political leverage.
But is it factual?
It is not a fact that we are in doomsday as we want to know. I've told you, it is about the time span. It is about the intensity.
So what's the time span?
Okay, so how long should it be before you can call it doomsday?
If it had gone beyond 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months into 4 years, and then the entirety of the nation is engulfed in darkness.
Okay.
Then you can.
So now you've given us a definition in terms of timeline. That's one that you disagree with. What's your definition? Once he's given us a definition.
Mr. Kofu has given us an operational definition for doomsday.
Yeah.
That when it spans for 6 months and beyond,
yes,
it is doomsday.
What is yours?
But when you have it for 2 months, but when the entire country
of the nation, yes.
But when you have it for 2 months, as we have
not 2 months, 1 week.
Oh, not 1 week, not 1 week. This issue has been with us for more than 7 weeks now. I'm telling you.
No, please.
Listeners will know better.
Let us be fair with ourselves.
Listeners will know better.
Let us be fair with ourselves.
You see,
it has never.
I'm happy that today we have a definition coming from Mr. Kokofu, who is a member of the NPP and a member of their communications team, that when you have power outages, that will last for 2 months or so. It's not doomsday. It is only when it goes beyond 6 months. You see, you must be able, you must be humble enough as a government.
It is not as simplistic as you're trying to put. You see, the point here is
Mr. Kokofu,
the consistency.
Our power is off.
The consistency and the consistency of the power outages.
Yes.
Spanning along some time limit. The considerable economic cost or damage that so ensued can definitely be defined as having that kind of
the severity of doomsday. The severity may be at levels. Something that will last for 2 months obviously is not same as what will last for a year or two. But the fact is that we have doomsday. When you have consistent, irregular power outages, that's what we refer to as doomsday. That's what we are going through now. All that we're saying is that
we don't have persistent regular power outages. We don't have. I've told you. We do not have.
You say
where
you
are
don't
living, you have.
You say you don't experience it.
That's okay. But when you see, we are trying to compare because you brought it on. We are trying to compare the era of Mahama and doomsday and what we are in today.
So during Mr. Mahama's presidency, you were experiencing it too, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was
cut across board.
And that was doomsday.
Perfectly.
And yours is what?
Okay.
Yours is what?
I want us to.
It's a few challenges.
It's a few challenges.
Yeah,
and I want to do so. Wow. I like that. The listeners, our viewers are watching you.
Yes, of course.
We are speaking to reasonable minds. Yeah. We are speaking to people who experience what you don't experience. I'm sure even if your power goes off, you can put your plant on.
Oh,
but you see, the fact is that under President Mahama, what accounted for it that you cannot challenge, and no one can challenge the fact that we had issues with generation capacity, we had issues with fuel. Today you have a Atuabu gas project.
Yes.
You have ENI gas.
Yes.
You have more than what we need as a country.
Yes. So
even the president himself, we have no justification whatsoever.
And you know,
to plunge this country into
that all this infrastructure may be there, but the operational aspect of it is also an issue. Don't you know?
The reason can be.
Mr.
Kofu, what we are failing to understand is that the act itself has been established. The reason why the act is taking place is another thing.
Yes.
Exactly. So admit that you have Dumsor, but give us the reasons.
Resume maintenance.
So that's the reason for the Dumsor.
Yes, of course.
So you've now admitted that we have Dumsor.
Please.
You
see, you see.
I want us to before we close the conversation. Mr. Koko, please land for me, and then we move.
You see, what you are failing to understand is that the intensity, the consistency of the power outages
is not the same.
It's not the same.
Okay.
Nationwide.
So that's your measuring tool.
Yes, that's my measuring tool.
You are talking of severity.
Yes, severity as well.
But you have Dumsor. But the severity is not the
same. You see, when you have economic costs, so much so to the extent that industry suffers, the health sector suffers, commerce suffers.
Today you think industry doesn't suffer because of the Dumsor? You think so?
The intensity.
You are talking of severity.
It's minute compared to the era of 4 years continuous.
So you've admitted that you have Dumsor today?
4 years continuous.
You have admitted that you have Dumsor today. But the severity is not same. Is that what you're saying?
Let's get the authorities to get to work to serve Mother Ghana better.
But the authorities under President Mahama, were they serving Togolese? They were serving Ghanaians equally.
Yeah, but...
And when you say NDC are complaining, are we Togolese?
No.
Or we're from
it is
from
not
Zanzibar.
about complaining. You can
Are you
complain.
from Zanzibar? We're equally Ghanaians.
You can complain.
So when you
Everybody
say NDC,
can complain.
you see?
I think we appreciate where the two of you stand right now.
I think we need to move beyond this MPP NDC.
Can we ever do that?
Of course.
Can we ever do that? Can we ever do that? I don't think we can ever stop politicizing issues. We can ever stop equalizing.
Don't we pay taxes to you?
Let me listen.
So I want us to move on from this issue, because it would definitely be what happened in our era, what's happening now, what I make of it, my definition of what's happening, and your definition as well. I'm not sure we can reach a consensus on this.
He's a gentleman. Is to admit that, yes, we have Dumsor, but it has not lasted for 4 years or 3 years. That one I agree. And that it is impacting on homes, it is impacting on industry, it is impacting on health institutions, just as it did under President Mahama.
No, but that is where you get it wrong.
But of course,
that is where you
not
get
3
it
years,
wrong.
not 2 years. That one I admit.
That is where you get it wrong.
When it's about them, when it's about them, a walkout by Chairman Sir and their minority was right. A walkout by Haruna Iddrisu and the minority today is wrong. What makes you Ghanaians, when I say the MPP, think that you are of a better, of a superior class than us? When there's Dumsor under us, when there's power outages under us, it is Dumsor and it is bad. When it is under you, no Dumsor.
Please.
What is about
superiority of class?
So let's talk about.
Admit that we have been
dealing with issues. We are dealing with the issues.
Let's before we close this conversation. Let's bring in one more issue.
President Mahama is wrong. A wrong under you is justified.
What kind of wrong?
Who said that?
Who is justifying any wrong?
I just told you that the man doesn't even want to admit that they have
So let's move on to let's move on to one more issue before we close, and this is an issue that happened in Parliament. I want us to take a listen to our parliamentary correspondent on this issue.
I take a very serious view of the matter raised. Apart from the recognition and permission granted by the Speaker, members of the Parliamentary Press Corps will be strangers in this honorable House. In other words, they have our permission to be here by dint of their profession and the work expected of them, and we regard them very, very highly. I want to make it clear that as much as they may give interviews before or after the plenary and the proceedings inside this honorable House, and which interview or contribution could be from the majority or the minority, any day, it is forbidden, if they have any doubt, to abandon the permission given them to cover proceedings in this honorable house and go outside the chamber itself and do some other work other than coming to cover proceedings in this honorable house. We have a saying in our Tree language, if you don't understand, please beg for assistance and understand. And this is very, very important. And honorable members, our democracy must be developing. And I feel very sad when references are made from whatever angle to those things that may or may not have happened in the past, which have nothing to do with me anyway today. So let us make progressive development in such a manner that we should not be slaves of the evil practices of the past, if any.
Mr. Speaker, I've noted the concern raised by the majority leader, but you know, the deer doesn't laugh at the mother's teeth. I said the deer doesn't laugh at his mother's teeth. You are here once upon a time in the minority, and you are there as majority, and probably tomorrow you'll be here again. The clock will always change. I agree that the media should be dutiful to this parliament and to this house. And therefore, the media behave in a manner that you are serving the institution of parliament and not any individual member of parliament. Mr. Speaker, it does not lie within the majority leader to determine who holds what conference when. That is why we are elected representatives. We are entitled to media, not just a parliamentary media. So, dutifully the media, be dutiful to the institution of parliament and be reminded by his past antecedents. The media be guided by his past antecedents, sitting here as minority leader. In what you do, whether those antecedents serve this house or serve his purpose as leader of the minority, then posterity is always a better judge. But I agree with you that the media must be up and doing. They should cover the proceedings of Parliament. Indeed, his invitation must extend to even the Minister for Information. That is why GBC is doing pretty well to cover, as they are doing, under their governance channel. And I'm sure they did, to be fair to them.
Okay. Mr. Abdulaziz, you are a sitting member of Parliament, Mr. Kokofu. Yes. You've been there before.
Yes.
Why are journalists also members of Parliament? Like now the Speaker can tell us what to do simply because we're covering Parliament. I don't know what you make of the Speaker's pronouncement and the support that came in from the minority leader.
Well, very regrettable ruling from the Speaker, or directive, if you may put it, from the Speaker.
You're forbidding. I mean, even the word forbidding.
I don't agree with that directive, and I think that in the next few hours or days to come, the minority may want to speak that matter. If you listen to...
What else would the minority say when the minority leader also agreed with Mr. Speaker?
He didn't. And you can play the tape again. You see, we
listen to him carefully.
Yes, I'll come to that. We must be very careful that the media has come to stay as the fourth branch of democracy. The freedom of the media, press men and women, is very, very important if we want to thrive on our democracy, if we want to travel very far on this democratic journey. Any attempt to gag the media, any attempt to direct the media as regards to what to report and not what to report, would not augur well for our democracy. I think that the Speaker's ruling should be addressed. You can only challenge a ruling from the Speaker with emotion. I don't know if any member would be willing to do that, but I think that the directive, in my view, is not healthy for our democracy, it's not healthy for parliamentary democracy, it's not helpful in any way. If you listen to the minority leader, yes, he urged the media to be responsible to Parliament as an institution, but he also reminded the honorable majority leader who raised the matter that he once did what he's complaining about, granting interviews to media men whilst plenary was in session. That's what I heard the minority leader say. I agree, he said, somewhere he said, I agree with you, Mr. Speaker, that the media needs to be responsible to this institution. You see, let us elevate it even beyond what we saw yesterday. In advanced democracies, media men even grant interviews, even in the corridors and lobbies. It's part of Parliament. And so when we extend invitation to media, we don't invite them to come and cover only proceedings in the chamber, but to cover news from Parliament. To cover news from Parliament. There are even instances where media men are invited into committee meetings to cover. Committee meeting is not plenary. Mr. Speaker himself has been a former member of Parliament, a senior member at that, a lawyer. He understands the relevance of the media in our democracy. And I didn't actually expect that ruling to come from him. But I think that the minority, I can't vouch for that, but I think that in the next few hours or days to come, I would not be surprised if the minority in any form disagrees with the Speaker.
That would be strange, because after the minority leader
what I listened
to speak on the floor, for the minority to organize a press conference because of the backlash.
No, I didn't say press conference.
Or come up with
I didn't say press conference.
So what would the minority be coming out with there?
I cannot make a pledge for and on behalf of the minority when I don't have their mandate to do so. But I'm saying that this ruling is bad.
Okay.
Look,
so, Mr. Kokofu,
it means that when plenary is in session, you can't even go to have a press conference. In fact, we must have respect for dissent. When there are happenings in chamber, whether it relates to a bill for a law or some contract of a sort, we should have respect for dissent. And the only platform for dissent is through the media. That we must respect. I disagree with this.
Mr. Kokofu, I want your take on this. It sounded like Mr. Speaker was whipping the journalists in line, like we belong to one of the sites in Parliament.
Yes, I pity my junior brother this morning. I'm just imagining what he's going to meet out there in the House. When your leader had been on his feet speaking, and you're sitting here disagreeing with your leader, and that.
Oh, but he also represents a constituency.
Yes, of course, I agree. I agree. This is a matter of Parliament, parliamentary proceedings.
What is your position on the ruling?
Please, I kept quiet when you were speaking.
Proceed.
Clearly, having listened to the tape and having listened to the submission of the minority leader, he was in tandem with Mr. Speaker. Whether it was right or wrong, that is another issue.
Do you find something wrong with what Mr. Speaker said?
No, you interrogate that. My colleague finds.
No, I want us to talk about that first, Mr. Kokofu.
Yeah, my colleague here finds everything wrong with it. But unfortunately, his minority leader, his leader.
So, Mr. Kokofu, you once represented the people of Bantama. What do you make of the submissions?
Let us
the ruling of Mr. Speaker.
Let us situate it here. At his last submission, he said it cannot be done that when plenary is in session, then media is also engaging other things. You asked the first question. Let me answer you. Journalists in Parliament are no parliamentarians. Parliamentarians are those who have been elected to office and sworn into office, inclusive the Speaker. So they constitute parliament. However, for services of parliament to run and run properly to serve the intended purposes, others are admitted in, including the media. And the media, don't forget, is regulated within the parameters of parliament. That's why they have parliament. They have you call it press corps.
The press corps.
Yes.
Well, are they regulated in terms of contents?
Content.
Are they regulated in contents?
No. Not what you put out there, but they are regulated by behavior and how you go about your things. And indeed, code of ethics by GIJ, I mean the journalists themselves, do some sort of regulation.
Yeah, but they don't tell us what stories to cover.
Yes, but they tell you to be circumspect. They tell you to be circumspect.
That was not an appeal. Mr. Speaker was not making an appeal to tell the journalists that, you know, please be mindful when we have something happening here. He sought to make a ruling and to say that you are forbidding henceforth.
Please, what precipitated all this? In the view of Mr. Speaker and parliamentarians, plenary was in session.
Mr. Kokofu, doesn't matter what happened before.
Yes, of course.
I think it matters what Mr. Speaker said on the day. What we're doing is analyzing what Mr. Speaker said.
You go to court, the law court, and the judge makes pronouncement, not out of the blue, out of the proceedings, what happened and all that, the evidence available, adduced and all that. The culprit giving a hearing or something of the sort. So it did not, the speaker did not make pronouncement out of the blue. There must be something that precipitated it. And here we need to interrogate that. And the question, and if you listen to minority leader, he said when the majority leader was in minority, something of the sort happened. You listen to him carefully. So it's like when you what you did in the minority, you were in minority today, we are saying it is wrong.
I've just been reminded that Mr. Speaker himself organizes
press
meetings where the press is invited to cover, and that doesn't happen in the main chamber of parliament, does it?
Exactly. When the business of parliament is on in session.
Mr. Kokofu, does parliament pay the journalists or the media houses that come there to cover so that we are assigned to the main chamber or to the speaker's directives? Is that what happens? This is a private media deciding, the editor deciding what the news is.
Have you talked to your reporters you sent to the various courts? You go to court. You go to court.
Mr. Kokofu, this is not court. This is not courts. But you don't take cameras to courts. You are not even supposed to record in courts. It's not the same.
The judiciary is an arm, and parliament is an arm. Don't forget. And the executive is an arm.
It's not same powers, Mr. Kokofu. They operate differently.
And he will tell you.
So
Parliament are masters of their own rules.
Yes, journalists are masters of their own rules too.
But not in the ambience of parliament. You don't go and do what you want.
In the editorial section is our business.
That's the point. But you don't go to parliament and do things that you want. There are rules and regulations to guide you, even for members of parliament. That is why the minority leader was in tandem with the
No, he wasn't.
He was.
Don't take refuge in that. Don't take refuge in that. Let me tell you something.
Let us listen. This
is the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. This is the standing orders of Parliament. Nowhere in these two documents is the directive of the Speaker grounded. Not in law and not in our standing orders. The Speaker is not a law unto himself. Please. And so I'm telling you that what he has done, there's nowhere in our standing orders where it is stated that media men are only supposed to cover activities in the chamber or plenary. Nowhere. Nowhere.
That is where you are.
And let me tell you, see,
when plenary is out of session, when plenary is out of session, you have every right to do whatever you want to do.
I say even in the corridors of Parliament
and Mr. Abdulaziz.
People grant interviews.
Yes, when plenary is out of session, you are.
And let me tell you
that.
So you know, one last thing, because you know we have to wrap up.
Let me tell you what actually triggered this. Let me tell you.
If you grant interviews,
it's because of the former
they are yet to come out of the pain, the shock, and disappointment
of what?
Of our decision not to participate in the debate. They can't.
So then, please don't sit here and indict your minority leader.
And disappointment.
Please don't sit here and indict the minority leader.
I have not.
You heard him.
Okay,
listen to him well.
Don't take
refuge in him. Represent the views of your class.
In him. Don't take refuge in him. Listen to him very well.
Listen, play back, girl. Go back.
We will resist oppressors' rule. We will resist authoritarian rule. We will resist anything that is unconstitutional and unlawful.
You are living in the PNDC era.
Thank you.
I'm telling you.
Get awakened. Ghana is not at the PNDC.
As if they are doing
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning.
Do they do you a favor? Do they pay you?
Just a reminder. No, just a reminder. Just a reminder that Parliament does not pay the media houses, at least for where I'm coming from, and they certainly can't tell us what makes our news or not. I think the Speaker should be speaking to the members of Parliament and telling them that when there's activity on the floor of Parliament, I don't want to see anybody go out to organize any other thing, take part in what's happening on the floor. I think the journalist is none of his business. Thank you for watching. Stay with us. We've got more coming out.
You're welcome back. It's Healthy Thursday, and today on our health segment, we want to talk about snoring. Now, most people snore when they sleep. It becomes a problem when it's quite excessive. But can it be cured? Well, we're going to get answers from Dr. Obo Adi, who is a sleep disorder specialist. Dr. Adi, how nice to see you.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, well, let's start from the beginning. What exactly causes snoring?
Yeah, the way to look at it is this, that if you force any fluid through a small space, it makes noise.
Yeah.
So that's the principle of flute, for example. You blow into it, it goes through a small space, makes noise. If water is running through a pipe, if it's flowing freely, it doesn't make any noise. It's a smooth, clear sound. So snoring is an indication that the airway is narrowing down. We are both wide awake and we are not making any snoring sounds because our throat space is wide open and the air is going in and out smoothly. So any snoring when somebody is sleeping is an indication that their throat space is beginning to close down or it's getting narrower. So that and there's a turbulence in the flow, so it's not going smoothly anymore, but it's vibrating. So there's vibration in the throat and the space is small as well.
So it doesn't happen while you're awake. Why does it happen while you're asleep?
I think you know that when we are sleeping, we are resting and we are relaxing. So your throat muscles are taut and they are tight. And like we are talking now, they are doing the functions. But when you fall asleep, the muscles, all your muscles relax. So it's a good thing that you relax and you can enjoy your sleep. But your throat muscles also relax. And sometimes they can relax so much that it gets narrower and then you begin to snore.
Okay. Now, some people snore, some don't.
Yes.
What causes the difference?
Yes, because we all have different amounts of space in our throat. And there's actually a misconception. People who have a thick neck or thick necks are more likely to snore. People think, oh, they have a thick neck, they have a big throat space. No, when your neck is getting bigger, the muscles and tissues are growing in both directions. So it's growing bigger on the outside, but it's growing smaller on the inside because the tissues are getting narrower. Then some people in some families snore more than others because we all have different kinds of anatomy. So some people have a small chin, the throat space is small to start with. Again, when you're awake, your muscles are active, they are keeping things going. But when you start with a small space and they get smaller, then you snore. So yeah, it's a amount of space that we have. Some have bigger spaces and some have smaller spaces.
Does it have anything to do with sleeping positions, you know, like the position in which you sleep? Sometimes when you're snoring, someone taps you and you turn, it suddenly stops. So, has that got anything to do with it?
Yes, position has a lot to do with it. There are very few people who snore when they are sitting right up because there's a thing in the back, it's called the uvula, the long thing that hangs. When you are sitting up, gravity pulls it down, so there's more space. When you are flat on your back, gravity works the other way. Your throat space gets smaller because your tongue rolls back, the uvula drops back, the space gets smaller, and you are more likely to snore. Worse on your back than on your side. If you can be prone, it will be even less significant. But if you sit upright, that can decrease. So sleep position has a lot to do with it. But when somebody is snoring and somebody taps you and you stop snoring and you change your position, it may not necessarily be the change in the position. It may be a change in level of alertness. You see, like I said, when you are sleeping and you are relaxed, your throat space is going to be more relaxed and collapse. But when somebody taps you, you wake up briefly. You don't know that you're awake. But you wake up, your muscles get tight, and then you stop snoring. Yeah. So it may be the position, but it may be the change in level of alertness. Or
which is probably why after a while you might start snoring again.
Again, yes. And sometimes people think it's the position, but it's just that you woke up and then fell asleep. I'll add another thing. There's sometimes when somebody is snoring, men snore more than women. So let's say it's a man who is snoring, the husband is snoring, the wife taps them and they stop snoring. Then they start snoring again, then they tap them. So the snoring itself can disturb the sleep of the person who is snoring. So the spouse tapping them only makes things worse because it makes them wake up more often. Obviously the wife wants to sleep, so they don't like the sound.
Exactly. Oh dear. So we're talking about your airwaves here, you know, and the collapsing and the expansion of your airwaves. Is snoring dangerous?
It can be. It can be. And sometimes I make the example with a headache. Just because you have a headache doesn't mean you have a brain tumor. So you can have a headache and it's malaria or you had a cold. And so it's not everyone who snores who is at risk. But snoring is closely related to sleep apnea. There are a few different kinds of sleep apnea. The type we worry the most about is the so-called obstructive sleep apnea. And you can see from the term, your throat is actually closing. Not only does it get narrower, but sometimes it closes all the way. So snoring is an indication, like I said, the space is getting smaller. Sometimes it gets so small you stop breathing. And you may stop breathing for 10 seconds at a time. If it's less than 10 seconds, we don't count it. 10 seconds or longer. And you may do this hundreds of times at night.
My word.
And people are usually not aware of it. But when you are doing this, it affects your heart rhythm. One of the things that happens, you start to snore, you stop breathing, air doesn't go through, your oxygen level drops, your heart senses there's something wrong, your heart rate may slow down. Then you gasp, you wake up, your heart races up. So one of the first things that you may have irregular heart rhythm at night. Snoring, when it's related to sleep apnea, is more likely to lead to high blood pressure. High blood pressure is one of the causes of stroke. So that's one of you can have a heart attack from this. People with sleep apnea are more likely to die in their sleep. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but then your risk is higher. People who have sleep apnea are more likely to have diabetes. So it can be
can end up being dangerous.
Yes.
Wow. Right. Is there anything like a permanent cure if somebody snores? Is there a way of just ending that permanently?
Yes, but you see, I hesitated before because I said that yes. Because cure in medicine is not something we achieve often. We can control things. So let me talk about the kinds of things that can be done to help decrease snoring or help improve it.
Okay.
We talked about position. Okay. Some people snore or have the apnea only on their back. So for somebody like that, they have to learn to no longer sleep on their back. And there's a way to teach people not to sleep on their back. Basically, you make it so uncomfortable on your back that you have to turn on your side. There's something we have called the tennis ball method. You basically put a tennis ball in the T-shirt in the back. And anytime you roll on your back, it becomes so uncomfortable, you have to turn and sleep on your side. So that is one way to do it. Then there are mouthpieces that you can wear. You see, again, it's a space problem. If you have a small chin, it's not for everyone, and your chin is moved back, and you have a small space back to front, a dentist can make a mouthpiece that you put in your mouth. It moves your lower jaw forward slightly and keeps it there. So even when you're on your back, you see the muscles may relax, but then it keeps the throat open. You asked about what can help improve, and I was talking to another group yesterday, and this came up. There is something that does not help. Some people are selling or advertising a chin strap. I've seen this in one of our local newspapers, that if you wear this, then it's going to keep your mouth shut and you will not snore. that is based partly on the misconception that people snore because their mouth is open. And I often say that you are not snoring because your mouth is open. Often your mouth is open because you are snoring. Because we said earlier that you are breathing, the air is supposed to go through your throat, the back of the throat. And if that space is getting smaller and you are snoring and the breathing is not good, you may tend to open your mouth so you are breathing through your mouth
to get more
air in. But some people think close your mouth and then you stop snoring. But then if you close the mouth, you are taking away this other space where they may breathe. But there's some people selling a chin strap. And a lot of people are buying it. When I talked to a group yesterday, some bought it and it doesn't work because you close your mouth, but your throat space is still small.
So you'll just snore through your nose instead?
Yes. So, but how about a cure? So I'll talk about a cure first and talk about the more practical things we often do. There is major surgery that can be done. So if somebody has a very small chin or small throat space, you can do bony surgery and move the jaw forward and give them a permanently bigger space. But that is rare. We often do not do that. It's a drastic measure. But you wear glasses and I wear glasses too. One of the most effective treatments for snoring, especially if it's related to sleep apnea, is something that helps you to breathe. It doesn't cure it. You see, your glasses doesn't cure your eye vision, but you have to have it on. It's called the CPAP. There is a continuous positive pressure ventilation. It's a mask that you wear. There is a little pressure to the air. So instead of leaving you to be breathing on your own, it pushes the air gently under pressure. So it keeps your throat open. That's why I hesitate. So when you wear your glasses, it gives you good vision, but it doesn't cure
your sight.
So there is effective treatment, but a cure is a lot of.
Now, of course, in the absence of numerous treatment options, we want to think about if there is a way of preventing, or preventing. And you mentioned earlier that actually people who have thicker necks are more prone to snoring. Does this perhaps indicate that your size could also be a factor when it comes to snoring?
Yes, that is a good point to make. So one of the recommendations we make for somebody who is overweight is to lose weight. Losing weight is a very good practical thing to do for most people. And when you lose weight, you are losing fatty tissue too. So the thing with a thick neck is, and there's a recent paper saying that a lot of the fat gets deposited in the tongue. So the tongue becomes more fatty. And we know fatty tissue is more flabby, so it's good. So if you are able to lose the fatty tissue, you can open the space up. So that is a very effective and helpful thing to do. Another thing, people who snore and are not breathing well may have interruption in their sleep. They may have difficulty sleeping because the throat is vibrating, they're making sound. And some people will resort to drinking alcoholic beverages to help them to get to sleep. That is one of the wrong things to do because alcohol can relax your throat muscles a little bit more. You may fall asleep, but you are going to snore more. But the other thing is this, alcohol decreases the effectiveness of your body reacting to something that is not good. So if you are snoring, space is getting smaller, oxygen level is dropping. Without alcohol, you are alert quickly. I mean, you may not wake up, but you are alert and you take a breath. But when you drink at night, the alcohol decreases your ability to respond to something that is not. So you are going to go longer snoring or longer lower oxygen. So that is not good. Another thing is sleeping pills. A lot of the sleeping pills that are used or prescribed by doctors can also relax your throat muscles. So if you are snoring and you are not sleeping well, the solution is not to go to a sleeping pill quickly. You may make the
make it worse. Fascinating. So, all right. So at this point, I mean, with all of these, all of this information being available, if a person is worried about their snoring, what can they do? What's step one?
It's a good thing to let your doctor know about it. It's for some time the doctors have not, or medicine has not paid a lot of attention to this, but those of us in sleep medicine are encouraging doctors to become aware of this. So if you talk to your doctor, then the doctor may be able to point you to others you may see, and now there are specialists that can see people for that. But the practical things you can do, I mentioned the alcohol, you want to avoid sleeping pills at night. And there are also good sleep habits that can help improve your overall sleep.
Right.
We talked about weight, so you want to watch your weight. Good regular exercise is always a good thing, not just for snoring, but for every aspect of health. Yeah. So these are things that we can all do.
Dr. Obo Adi, you've really opened our eyes, if not our throats, to the reality of snoring. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for that.
Thank you.
All right, now coming up is something rather exciting. You know, every year the Sugar Project, after raising money during the Pop Chain All-Star concert, they go out into the country to help people who normally can't afford it to test for diabetes and high blood pressure and so forth. And they often come back with some alarming statistics. But it's all in aid of people having a better, healthy life. So we're about to hear this year's plans for the Sugar Project outreach, which is ongoing as we speak. But the Grand Durbar, the finale, if you like, will be tomorrow in Bator. You're about to hear all about it as Roland speaks to the organizers right after these.
It's another year, and this time we have to talk about a related disorder or problem we have in our society. We're talking diabetes, and the rates keep increasing, and it's all because of, apart from it being hereditary, the lifestyles as well. And, well, two organizations that have been very instrumental over the last 5 years in ensuring that all of us put our own efforts in improving education, as well as helping those who have diabetes. We have Rotary Club of Accra Airport, as well as the Millennium Promise Alliance. It's a charity, or as the English will refer to it, an NGO. And we do have their representative in the studio, Ifua Ababios, the immediate past president of Rotary Club of Accra Airport. And Ifua, again, we're meeting. Second year in a row. Yeah. That's a good one. And then also John Ilyasu Mahama, no relation to former President John Dramani Mahama, is a technical advisor for Millennium Promise Alliance. It's good I put that in perspective. Yep. Yeah. But we do know that you've been doing this for the last 5 years, and since you're the owners of this, let me start with you, Ifua. 5 years, and you're coming, how would you capture the whole period of 5 years?
I think it's been very impactful. And well, as you know, we started, as we spoke about this last year, Kojo Youngson from Joy FM came to talk to our Rotary Club, and we got interested, and we actually
He's a lifetime ambassador.
Yeah, yeah. So we started, and then we started from Accra. 2017, we had the outreach in Accra. 2018, we went to the Central Region and impacted quite a number of lives. A lot of people didn't know they had diabetes. The outreach helps them know they have it. And then those who don't have it, we actually guide them, give them education on how to have healthy lifestyles and then kind of prevent getting diabetes. Last year, we went to the Eastern Region, and this year, we're in the Volta region.
Yeah. Where specifically?
North Tongue.
North Tongue. Yeah, great. And you have been partnering them for how many years now?
For the past 3 years.
For the past 3 years.
Since 2018.
And your contribution usually is in the areas of?
So I would say 3 major areas. I think when the partnership started, we found a lot of alignment with the work we do at community level. We have a lot of community health programs that reach out to households. And we try to use technologies, simple technologies with smartphones and tablets, so that it will help us in tracking cases. If we identify someone with diabetes or any condition, and we have the information onto the electronic platform, it makes it easier for health workers at the district level to follow up. And the third one is in the area of training. So mobilizing the communities, using the technologies to help us pick cases and follow them over a period of time, and working with health workers at the peripheral level, from the community level through to the district level, building their capacity so that when the outreach is completed, they would continue their activities afterwards.
But it also means that you on your part will have to rally your members because they contribute, but you also need some great supporters to make sure this becomes a reality.
Yeah, we've had quite a number of sponsors over the years, but Plus 233 Jazz Club has been our partner as well. They actually help us organize the pop chain concert that has become very popular.
Yes.
And that helps us raise funds. Over the years, we've raised about 70,000 Ghana cedis for the Sugar Project, yes. And we've had some sponsors from 2015 to 2019.
Wow.
Let me just quickly run through them.
Okay.
Brussels Airlines, South African Airways, Millennium Promise Alliance, Life Forms, Ava Virgin Coconut Oil, Batch Freight and Logistics, Fidelity Bank, Bayport Financial Services, Chrisarch Carpets, Royal Senchi Hotel and Resort, Fiesta Royal Hotel, Kunta Kinte Hotel, Trinity Oil, Goyle, Casapreco Company, David Walter Company, Mr. C.C. Bruce, Mr. Ruakosa, and of course, all members of Rotary Club of Accra Airport. They're always giving their all.
And associate members like me.
Like you, and Kojo Jansen.
But John, if we have to put all the things in perspective, this year would mean that we want to do what, and how different is it going to be from the previous?
Okay, so we are building on the experiences over the years. I think when we started, the numbers were small in terms of the outreaches, the number of people we could reach. And given the experience we've gathered over the years, this year we started the planning quite early. Okay. As you would see, there are a lot of partners involved, and I think that's one of the values in this relationship, that there are a lot of partners coming, media giants like Joy, Rotary, and all the others. But I think what is key with the early planning is that it allows us to map out the communities so that we have the district health officials working with us to identify where they think the need is greatest. Because a lot of the districts already have some activities going on. They may be related to diabetes or not, or sometimes they try to integrate. But when we come, it's an opportunity for them to then identify where the greatest need is, and then we prioritize those communities. So in North Tongue, we started early this year with the training that was done about 2 weeks ago. Then since the training, the health workers have been doing the community education and mobilization and doing testing alongside. And all of these would climax with the grand debate that will be held tomorrow at Bato.
Wow. And it's where we're going tomorrow. And so you do the testing and everything. Right. How is the event going to be like, basically?
Well, it's usually like a deba. We have the chiefs and then the leaders there, and then we have the Rotarians, and then, of course, we have the community. So we finish and then we climax it with like an event like that, yeah.
How serious is the related issue that you've been working on the last 3 years with them, and for them the last 5 years? We're talking diabetes.
Right. So in each of the tests that we have done, we've picked a lot of cases, but I think what is really important is that there are a lot of people who don't know their status, who have never tested for diabetes, and this really offers the opportunity for most of them to get tested for the first time. And I think the fact that it is also free and it is done with health workers at that level makes it possible, one, for the early identification, and with these conditions, if you're able to identify it earlier, then it's easier to manage it over time. Some of the places we've been to, like Elmina last year, already had running diabetes clinics, but the clinics are static. But with our intervention, we are able to then reach out to more communities, and it's easier to link the community people with the diabetic clinics. Where there isn't diabetic clinics, some of them have taken advantage of this partnership to start one, because once they have the training, they have the glucometers that are donated by True Rotary and Joy FM, they're able to then sustain these interventions afterwards.
And tomorrow will be a big day.
Tomorrow will be a big day. And there'll be a lot of Rotarians.
And you were just telling me that the next 5 years also will mean that it's another chapter.
Yes. This will be the last year for the Sugar Project. We're still going to partner with Joy FM and the Millennium Promise, but the pop chain concert in September will actually yield proceeds and will support the breast cancer program.
So now for the next 5 years, it will be breast cancer for Rotary Accra Airport.
And you know, October is the breast cancer awareness month.
Yes,
so
definitely. It falls in line.
With that, yeah.
But I will say for you, and this will be your short comment, just for 30 seconds. Why do you do this?
We do this because Rotarians just love to do good in the world. Business and professional people, we've come together to use our resources in cash and kind to do good in the community. We see all the wrongs in the world and we try to right the wrongs. And it's fulfilling, actually, to put smiles on faces. Some of the faces you never see. But
when I was younger, I went to a road tract meeting. I'm told it's the satellites of... So the satellite team of Rotary, and then the donations were just overwhelming. Maybe now would have been a better perspective. But why do you do this?
Well, so for Millennium Promise, we do community development interventions as part of our strategic direction towards the sustainable development goals. And for us, a key value addition is always the use of technology. No matter how small, technology allows us to do whatever we do more efficiently and to reach out to more people.
Yeah. Well, I wish you all the best for tomorrow's event. If I have the time, please
come.
Okay, definitely.
Come.
It will be at Bato, North Tongue, as it is, but I've had in the studio Ifua Ababio, and the beautiful Ifua is the media past president of the Rotary Club of Accra Airport, and then also John Ilyasu Mahama, technical advisor, Millennium Promise Alliance. Forgive me, I didn't say you're handsome as well. But that'll be it. So next we have the beautiful Kadi with the latest in entertainment. Stay with us.